Today is the final hour and the end of our Holy Week service. This is Good Friday service where Jesus hung and died upon the cross. He interceded for those who tormented him and praying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. His mother, he said, Woman, behold your son. And to his disciples, he said, Behold your mother. To the repentant thief, he promised, Today you shall be with me in paradise. To God the Father, he cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me? In anguish and pain, he exclaimed, I thirst. And now this evening, as Jesus closed his eyes in death, he prays, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. It is the final prayer of Jesus that we focus on this evening. And may the Lord rich and abundant blessing upon all of the preaching and the hearing and the living of the word for Jesus' sake. Lord, you be with us now. Yesterday, or the word before now was it is finished. All of the things that God had assigned his hands to do, he can report to God and say it is finished. All of the work, all of the healing and all of the teaching and all of the things that you assigned to my hands and my heart to do, it is finished. And Jesus had cried with a loud voice. He said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And having said this, he breathed his last breath. After Jesus had spoken the sixth word, and before he spoke the seventh word, Luke tells us that the curtain of the temple was torn in two. In the great temple there was a place called the Holy of Holies. This was the meeting place between a holy God and a sinful people. And this curtain prevented unholy people from entering the holy house of God. Once a year, the great high priest was permitted by the Jewish law to enter this place with awe and trembling to make the sacrifice for the sins of the people. This was a great day of atonement. However, when Jesus cried out, it is finished, this curtain was no longer there. It was torn into pieces. Jesus Christ now be our only mediator between God and his people. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. With that part of the journey now completed, Jesus was ready to go home to be with his Father. Max Lucado explained this moment better than anyone else when he wrote, the voice that screamed at God, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now says, Father, in thy hands I commend my spirit. The two are again one. The banner is now found. The schism is now bridged. Father, he smiles weakly, it's over. Satan's virtues have been scattered. Hell's demons have been jailed, and death has been damned. The Son is out. The Son of the living God is out. It's over. An angel sighs, a star wipes away a tear, saying, take me home. Yes, take me home. Take this prince to his king. Take this son to his father. Take this pilgrim to his home. He deserves a rest. Come, 10,000 angels, come and take this wounded troubadour to the cradle of his father's arms. Farewell, manger's baby. Blessed you, holy ambassador. Go home, death slayer. Rest well, sweet soldier, for the battle is over. So Jesus cried out with a loud voice, not a whisper or whimper, for all to hear his declaration. He says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Jesus died with the prayer on his lips. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. That is Psalm 31:5, with one word added. That verse was a prayer every Jewish mother taught her child to say last things at night. Just as we were taught to say those words before we went to bed. And I remember that prayer. It was a scary prayer. The first part was okay, but now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. But if I shall die before I wake, I pray to God my soul to take. Into thy hands I commit my spirit. Jesus made it even more intimate, for he began with the word Father. Even on the cross, Jesus died like a child falling asleep in his Father's arms. Yes, Jesus in his final moments on his journey did not speak large words. He did not engage in a philosophical debate. He uttered the words of the first prayer he ever learned. This is what gave great comfort to his soul in his last moments. Yes, these last words were a testimony to what life is all about. He began life with God, and he completed his earthly journey with God. These last words of Jesus have further inspired some of the great names of history to repeat these same words when death was knocking at the door. People such as Christopher Columbus, St. Augustine and Polycarp, George Herbert, St. Bernard, John Huss, Thomas Becket, and I'm sure there have been thousands of others whose names are unknown to us. But more importantly, they are known by God the Father. In this prayer that makes up the seventh word from the cross, we see that it is a prayer of communion with God. It is a prayer of confidence in the power of God. And finally, it is a prayer of commitment. Jesus entrusting God to prosper the work he had done on the cross. He deposits his soul. He deposits his love and his life with his Father. Father, Father, I commend my spirit. Jesus let him go, allowing God to take care of the outcome. Maybe there's someone here who understands the despair that comes from trying to manipulate and control everything. And everyone around us, we've seen how jumbo stuff gets and how totally wrecked we are when we can't even control our own outcome. For Jesus is teaching us who struggle with trying to control everything, how to let go and let God. This text is tailored to teach some control freaks how to avoid ultimate frustration by learning how to let go and let God. When the situation isn't working out the way you want, I say to you again, let go. When you've done your best and your best is misunderstood, let go. When people seem intent on bringing you down, let go. For some time now, he had been in the hands of men, and look at the results. Even the hands of his friend Judas betrayed him. In the hands of Peter, emphatically denied him. It was men's hand that arrested Jesus and dragged him before Caiaphas, the high priest. It was the hands of the false witnesses that were raised to swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But the truth It was these same hands that pointed Jesus out in the court and falsely accused him. It was the council's hand that voted guilty verdict for Jesus. The soldier's hand who beat Jesus and held the whips that scourged him. Their hands placed the crown of thorns upon his head and pressed it into his flesh. Matthew said they smote him with the palms of their hands. And then they mocked Jesus, for he was blindfold, saying, "Prophesy, Jesus. Tell us, who was it that hit you?" Their hands led him before Pontius Pilate, and Pilate tried to wash the blood stain from his hand, but he didn't know that Christ's blood would leave an indelible mark not only on his hand, but the entire world. The mob used their hands to plead the release of Barabbas, and they clenched their hands unto the fist demanding that Jesus be crucified. Their hands had dragged him to Golgotha and nailed him to the cross. It was their hand that lifted his cross into the air. Their hands threw the dice to see who would get his cloak. Jesus had been at the mercy of hands that had no mercy, for as he had told them, it was their hour. He then prayed this final prayer: "Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit." You see, things change when you put your hands in God's hands. You put your little hand in the hands of the man who calmed the waters. Put your hands in the man who stopped the waves, who stopped the wind. Put your hands in the man of the hands who can touch, and you can be healed. Oh, when Satan thought would be my defeat, in God's hands is my victory. When Satan thought would be my shame, in God's hands is my success. I said, what Satan thought would be my midnight, in God's hands, my morning. What Satan thought would be my way down, in God's hand is my way up. When Satan thought would have me limping, God's hands, I'm leaping. What Satan thought would be my stumbling block, in God's hand is my stepping stone. He placed himself in hands through prayer. Jesus knew that things could never get too rough to talk to his Father in heaven. So he prayed. He prayed for me and he prayed for you. I stopped by to tell you this evening, put your hands in the hands of God. Remember, he cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Father, Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit." God bless you now. Go in peace and go in love. Amen. Amen.